Here we're looking at our Trex 500 Pro EFL version, the electronic flybarless version. And getting ready to install the main gear and also the motor, pinion, and so forth. So want to get started with that. We're going to get our parts that further. Let's check and make sure that these are tight, they've been Loctited. And there's no Loctite. So basically this is a self-tap screw. Just make sure that they're secure. Check them. Go through there. Yeah, they're all tight. Okay, so that's all tight. And then make sure you have a spacer right here between the upper main gear and the lower auto rotation gear. And also what you want to do is make sure it has grease, which it does, so we don't need to further lubricate that. So we have grease in our one-way bearing, and that's all taken care of for us. So we'll go ahead and insert this again, and we'll press that in. We'll lift up the rotor head there, get our main gear in place, check the fit of that. Looks like it's fitting just fine. And we'll get the lower bolt here. Let's get this lined up. Make sure you got that lined up. And you take one of your small Allen wrenches, push it through, and make sure that you're lined up all the way. Get your Allen bolt, stick that through. Make sure there's no resistance going in. It should basically go right on through. If there is any resistance, pull back out before you damage the threads to the Allen bolt there. So, alright, let's get the nut on the other side here. And this is why I have the my set of needle noses if I need to have them. So I'm gonna use my needle nose here just to guide this in. You can use this, or you can actually get another wrench, put it on the center of the bolt on the center there, guide that in, and then with your other Allen wrench, basically get that, start feeding it, and try and push that nut in there. So let's see if I can turn this. So I'm on the nut side right now. I got it lined up. And what I'm going to do is push this in. So just push it in. Like that. And then just use your finger to hold the nut in place. And then screw it in. And that should do that. So that's okay. So we got that on there. Now we'll put our phasing unit back on. Slide that back in. When you're doing it, make sure that the Align logo is facing outward or towards the back of the helicopter. And then we'll go ahead and Loctite the grub screw here for the post for our canopy. So go ahead and get this. Let's get this lined up. Make sure that that's lining up correctly. Okay. Okay. And let's do this side. Pull the Loctite on that grub screw. We'll put that post back on here. And tighten that down. do the other side. And this one already had a little Loctite on the thread there, so, and the actual grub screw adhered to the inside, so we'll just drive it in this way here, walk that in. That snug. Okay, well, we've just got the main gear in place, got the bolts in place, main rotor heads mounted. We have our thinner shim in there. The thicker shim was a little too much. We have our phasing guide here, our anti-rotation guide in place. You notice it's CNC, so that's nice. No upgrades required, just like on the tail. And now what we're going to do is we're going to mount the motor. Okay, and let's get the motor here. Got the pinion, it's at 500 HM1. So we'll go ahead and cut this open. Looks like we have 2 grub screws and 2 3mm screws for work inside the frame here. And what I'll do is I'm going to actually cut a piece of plastic so I can gap the pinion and the main gear. So let me cut a piece of plastic here. Okay. Alright. And then the grub screw, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get that started on the pinion. Okay. And that going. And we want to make sure that on the grub screw here, let me clean that off. I put Loctite on there, and one thing in high heat or high temp areas, if you put Loctite in high heat application, it'll actually work as lubricant, so work against you. So we don't want to do that. We want to just use the grub screw, because as the heat dissipates, it will absorb into the shaft and then move on up into the pinion area. We want to get our wiring, so we'll get that to go forward. Slide this up and under here, see if we can get that in. Alright, let's take a look. Let's put this here, and let's see if we can tilt that in. Okay, we'll go sideways, go up. Slides right in right there. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll get these screws in place, 3mm. See if you can see that. And then what we'll do is we'll line up the holes here. Alrighty. We got a lock on one side. Let's lift it up. Okay, there we go. Alright, now we got that on there. Sorry about that. Took a little while for me to line those up. Hope I didn't block you too much. Alright, so now we have our pinion. And here's my piece of plastic that I just cut out of the bag. I'm just going to go ahead and slide this in here before I get carried away with pushing that motor aft. Okay, we need to loosen up the bolt, and then we'll slide the motor back towards the main gear. Grab it from the front here so I can put my thumb on that motor. And we're going to push this. Okay. There we go. Alright, so right now the pinion's loose. And so what I want to do is I want to lift that up. It's a little low, so let me get my grub screw here. Those slots are alright. On the grub screw, make sure that it's in far enough so that it doesn't interfere with the side body of the aluminum on the tray here. So what I'll do is I gotta need to lift it up. Let me lift this up. Okay. Pull that out real quick so you can see that. There is a flat spot on the shaft on the motor, just so you know, but make sure this screw is below the surface, meaning it's just flush with the exterior of the pinion, because if you leave it out, what it'll do is it'll grab onto the aluminum inside here, so just so you know. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and stick that back down, and then there is a flat spot there. Let me line that up, the flat spot. Okay. Alright, and let's get our plastic in line. You can do this after, but I'm going to go ahead and do this now just so I can get a better feel of the gear mesh. Okay. Okay. Alright, plastic's in place. I'm going to push the motor back, lift the pinion where I want it, and then I will just snug those up just so the pinion's not moving up and down. Okay, so we have that. And let's go ahead and press the motor. Alright, so I have that pinion and then I've gapped it with a piece of plastic. So let's see how that, if that's enough or it's too much. Okay, and then what you want to check too is the grub screw. Make sure that we're actually on a flat spot. So I'll tighten the one to hold position, and then I'll go back to the one where we thought we were mounting on a flat spot. Make sure that that's what happened. Okay, we're on a flat spot, just to make sure. Do that. Then go back this way, loosen that up so that thing can, grub screw can do its job and tighten against that flat surface. Just to make sure that it's flat. Okay, come back, tighten it up. Okay. Alright, that. Okay. Alright. Check. Okay, we need to loosen this up. Okay, I just noticed while I was tightening stuff up here that my boom, I hadn't fully pushed it forward. So simply loosen up the 2 3mm nuts there, or Allen screws, tighten that up. And that should do that. So now we're driving the tail. We're driving the tail. Driving the motor. Okay. And we'll test that gear mesh again once we're doing final install. Everything's getting a shakedown, you know. So, okay. Alright. So, there's the Trex 500 EFL 5-barless version. We got all our servos mounted. We have our wires. We have our motor installed here, and have our pinion in there. That's installed as well. So doing real nice there.